Hey, so this is Nadine Budbill, and I am doing this whole series of videos about what it's like to be the mother of a special or high needs child. And I define special and high needs really broadly, so that might be physical or emotional or mental or behavioral challenges. That might be, a physical challenge that is intense. It might be ODD or ADHD or ADD or PTSD or autism spectrum challenges or anxiety disorders, or maybe you don't have a diagnosis and it's just what is above and beyond what you know to be average challenges of parenting. So whatever it is, that's what I'm talking about. And today I want to talk about grief and the intense grief that we experience when we get a child that isn't what we expected. Maybe it wasn't, we had the dream or the vision or the hope for what it would be like as a mother, and then we get something completely different. And that analogy you may have heard of, you think you're getting on the airplane to go on a really nice vacation in Hawaii, and instead you end up somewhere entirely different that's really rough. And I love that analogy because it's so true. It's like you think you're doing one thing and then you end up with something completely different, and something that is difficult and painful and hard. And so there's grief, and there is ongoing grief. So my daughter was born 3 months early. She weighed 1 pound 11 ounces at birth, spent a long haul in the neonatal intensive care, lots of medical procedures, lots of instability, lots of sickness. We almost lost her many times. So it's a miracle that she is alive, but she struggles. She has severe separation anxiety disorder, severe social anxiety disorder, severe post-traumatic stress disorder, severe dysregulated behavior. So life with her is intense. And I remember when she was born, I had envisioned being tired, but being excited and happy and so full of joy at the birth of my child. But instead, we were separated. I was sick. She was sick. And I was terrified. And I remember the first time that I was allowed to go see her when I was well enough to go visit her in the NICU. And I left and went back to my hospital bed, and I just cried and cried. I just wailed the pain and the sadness and the sense of loss, like not getting to have what I had envisioned, like not getting to have a full-term pregnancy, not getting to have a natural birth, not getting to have a healthy baby, not getting to hold my baby when she was born. All of that, I had to grieve the loss of that. And that is so real and intense. And your story may be similar, it may be very different, but if you have a special or high needs child, I know that there is something similar in there where there is grief about not getting what you expected and getting something really difficult instead, and sometimes it feels like I didn't sign up for this. I wouldn't have signed up for something so difficult, right? But here we are. And it's such an important piece of the process to honor the grief, like to let it process and let it flow through you, metabolize it. Like stuffing grief and anger and sadness away never does us any good. And the grief is ongoing when we have a special and high needs child. All the things that we don't get to experience because of our child's limitations, or all the things that they don't get to experience because of their limitations. So the grief is just constantly moving through. Like with my daughter, she didn't play with another child until she was almost 6. And that was so sad and hard to see her never engage with another child. She doesn't, still to this day, she's 7, she doesn't speak to anybody other than myself and my partner and my mother, and her therapist. And so all of the relationships that she can't have with other people, and even with my family members, because she doesn't engage, she's completely shut down around them. So there's loss of that. She doesn't go to school. There's loss of my, independence and freedom. There's loss in my marriage, of course. I know you understand that if you have a special and high needs child. She's losing out on the experience of being at school and being with peers and having those relationships and having other adults in her life. Birthday parties, we don't do that because it causes her too much anxiety. And so there's just, I could go on, but I won't, about all of the loss and the feeling of grief, and that it just keeps going. And so I like to think about like holding space for my grief, like holding it with tenderness and love and care, almost like it was a little baby, and feeling it, like letting it come up, letting myself feel it, letting myself feel angry and pissed off about what this is and how challenging it is. And of course, I also I'm a coach, I'm an educator, I work with other mamas who have special and high needs children. So my focus is on how we find wholeness and well-being in the middle of the storm. So I do all that work, but part of that work is honoring the really hard feelings and the sense of grief and the pain and the loss, because like I said, those have to be metabolized. So I just share that with you here, Mama, if you're watching this, to honor your grief, to know that it's real, that you don't have to stuff it away, that it is just an essential and integral part of having a child that struggles, and that makes your life a struggle. And so we're all in that boat. We all have lives that look different and children who are different, but that feeling of grief and loss is so real for parents of special and high needs children. And I want to give you permission to feel it and to honor it and let it come up and let yourself move through it, because when we stuff it away, it ends up kind of getting stagnant and causing us a lot of suffering, and a lot of burnout and a lot of exhaustion and a lot of overwhelm. And so make space for your grief, allow yourself to feel it, know that it is really very, very true and real and normal part of the experience of having a special or high needs child. So I will leave you with that, and I am supporting you from afar, sending love out to all the parents of special and high needs children out there.